Good evening, and welcome to Late Night Science, a quiet space where we drift together through the cosmos of thought, where science and wonder meet beneath the soft hum of night. Thank you for being here. To all who have returned, your presence shapes this space more than you know. And to those joining for the first time, make yourself at home. Wherever you are in the world, listening under city lights or in the hush of an unlit room, let us begin this slow unraveling of motion and time. Feel free to share where you are listening from. One by one, your small lights trace a constellation of curiosity across the planet. What if the faster you move, the slower your life becomes? As if time itself starts to hesitate, just to keep you from outrunning it. It sounds like a riddle whispered by the universe itself, a contradiction that feels impossible, and yet quietly, it governs everything. Tonight, we'll linger inside that contradiction. We'll listen for the pulse beneath the ticking of clocks, for the rhythm behind motion. Because before we can understand why moving faster slows you down, we must first learn what it means to be still. So take a breath. Let the air move through you and notice, even in stillness, something shifts. Your lungs expand, your heartbeat ripples, molecules collide inside you with restless precision. You are never truly motionless. Stillness, it seems, is only an illusion of scale, a perception crafted by the limits of our senses. On the smallest levels, everything dances. Atoms vibrate, electrons spin, planets turn. Even when you sit completely still, the Earth beneath you races around the Sun at nearly 30 kilometers every second, and the Sun itself drifts through the galaxy at 200 kilometers each second more. Yet somehow, you feel at rest. This is where our story begins, in that strange gap between movement and perception, between the rushing truth of physics and the quiet experience of being. Stillness is not the absence of motion, but the alignment of motion, a balance point where everything moves together so smoothly it feels like silence, like the surface of a river that looks calm though currents churn below. For centuries, we imagined time as something absolute, steady, unchanging, indifferent to everything it carried, a universal heartbeat ticking evenly across creation. But that comfort began to waver when we discovered that even the ticking of clocks depends on how and where they move. Time itself, it turns out, is not immune to motion. It bends, stretches, and slows as if woven into the same living fabric as space. Imagine the cosmos as a vast ocean of existence, not static, but trembling with waves of energy and gravity. Every motion you make, every step, every orbit, every photon of light sends ripples across that ocean. You move not through emptiness, but through a field that breathes. And this field has rules, subtle yet unbreakable. Among them, one stands supreme. The speed of light is constant. No matter who you are or how fast you travel, light always races ahead at the same pace, 299,792 kilometers every second. That constancy might seem simple, but it is the thread that unravels our understanding of time. Because if light's speed cannot change, then something else must. And what bends to protect that rule is time itself. Time adjusts, hesitates, and stretches, keeping the balance of nature intact. It is as if the universe prefers symmetry over comfort, elegance over simplicity. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine drifting through space. No up, no down, no sound, but the quiet murmur of your own breath. Out here, speed is relative. You could be gliding at thousands of kilometers per second, but unless you compare yourself to something else, you would feel nothing. That is the strange gift of the cosmos. Motion is only visible through relationship. One thing moves only because another does not. Time flows because we compare it to something that seems still. So what then is stillness? A frame of reference, perhaps. A gentle illusion where we measure our motion against something larger. The stars appear fixed, but they too are adrift, spinning through vast galactic arms. Even the galaxies themselves, immense, ancient, are drawn toward unseen attractors, slipping through cosmic filaments like leaves caught in invisible currents. The deeper we look, the more we find that stillness is never truly still, and yet we crave it. In stillness there is safety, the promise of pause, the breath between notes. Maybe that's why we rest beneath stars that never truly stop burning. Stillness comforts us because it gives meaning to movement. It is the silence that allows the symphony to exist. Without stillness, motion would have no contrast, no context, no story. So tonight, let's treat the universe like an orchestra tuning its strings. Every vibration, every orbit, every beam of light plays a note. Together they form the music of space-time. To hear it, you don't need equations or telescopes, only patience. The kind of patience that lets you feel seconds as something textured, something alive. The kind of awareness that senses how each tick of your inner clock is part of a much older rhythm, one that began long before the first human breath. When you sit quietly enough, you begin to feel that rhythm. It's in your pulse, in the hum of distant traffic, in the spinning of the earth beneath your feet. You realize you are already part of motion so vast it erases the line between moving and being moved. You are both passenger and path, and so, when we ask, what does it mean to move through time? Perhaps the question folds back on itself. Maybe we are not moving through time at all. Maybe time moves through us. Each heartbeat, each thought, each memory is a ripple in that passing current. You are not separate from it. You are the pattern the current takes when it slows enough to think. It's a humbling idea that your life is both motion and stillness, both clock and observer, both the river and the leaf upon it. The faster you move, the more the river stretches beneath you, slowing your drift to preserve its rhythm. Time seems to resist being rushed. In doing so, it reveals its nature, protective, patient, precise. So as we drift deeper into this night, into the quiet wonder of relativity and rhythm, remember this: every moment you live is already part of motion. You have never been outside it. You are made of it. Stillness is not the absence of time, but its perfect expression. The point where motion balances itself so beautifully that it forgets to rush. Before we continue, take one more breath. Let it be slow, like the turning of a planet. Thank you truly for being part of this shared journey. Your quiet curiosity keeps this channel alive. If this calm exploration resonates with you, feel free to linger, to subscribe, to let this space grow with your presence. Next time, we'll listen to the clock inside the heart, the rhythm that keeps each of us tethered to the cosmos. But for now, let the question drift softly through your mind as the night deepens around you. If stillness itself is motion perfectly disguised, then what truly is time? Listen closely for a moment. Not to the world around you, but to the soft pulse within your chest. That sound, so ordinary and familiar, is the oldest rhythm you've ever known. Before words, before thought, before your first breath of air, your heart was already keeping time. Every beat, every breath, every orbit is a clock, each marking the quiet cadence of existence. Yet beneath that familiar rhythm lies a deeper mystery. The realization that not all clocks tick the same way. We've long imagined time as a single, unwavering current, a cosmic metronome ticking evenly through the lives of stars and people alike. But what if time is less like a straight river and more like a tide, shifting and swelling with the movements of the universe? What if each of us, each particle, each planet, carries its own rhythm, a private tempo within the grand symphony of space-time? Your heartbeat is one of many measures. It's the body's small attempt to synchronize with a cosmos that never truly holds still. Between its beats, blood flows in waves, organs oscillate, and tiny molecular clocks inside every cell keep their own time. Even as you sleep, your circadian rhythm, that delicate dance of hormones and light, drifts in and out of phase with the turning Earth. You are a constellation of clocks, layered and interwoven, each one slightly out of sync with the next. It is humbling to realize that the same principle echoes beyond your skin. The Earth itself is a clock, rotating once every 24 hours, orbiting the Sun once every year. But its spin is slowing, imperceptibly, yet relentlessly. Millennia from now, our days will stretch longer than they do today. The Moon, too, keeps time, its slow recession from Earth altering the tempo of our tides. Even stars pulse with cycles, swelling and dimming in cosmic heartbeats that span centuries. The universe does not run by a single rhythm. It breathes in many. To see this, we need to listen to the universe differently, not as a collection of static bodies, but as a living orchestra of motion. The beats of your heart mirror the orbit of Earth. The orbit of Earth mirrors the rotation of the galaxy, and somewhere beyond, galaxies themselves drift through invisible currents, all tracing a pattern of movement that has no conductor, yet never falls apart. For centuries, our ancestors tried to pin this music down. They built sundials to follow the shadows, water clocks that dripped with patient precision, pendulums that swung with mathematical grace. Each invention was an attempt to measure the immeasurable, to take something infinite and carve it into moments we could understand. But every clock we've ever made is, at its core, a reflection of our biology, an echo of the heart. When we measure time, we are really measuring change, and change is what life feels most keenly. Yet as physics would later reveal, even the most perfect clock does not tick the same for everyone. The faster you move, the slower your seconds unfold. A clock carried aboard a fast-moving jet will return to Earth ever so slightly behind its twin that stayed home. Astronauts in orbit, moving swiftly through weaker gravity, experience time differently than we do on the ground. Their bodies, and the hearts within them, live a fraction of a second less each day. These differences are invisible, yet measurable. Proof that time itself stretches and contracts, as if breathing with the rhythm of motion. So when you feel your heart beating, remember that it is not only marking your life, it is negotiating with the universe. It slows, it accelerates, it syncs and desyncs with every motion you make. You walk, and your pulse rises. You rest, and it slows. Each adjustment is a dialogue between motion and metabolism, a miniature echo of the way stars, planets, and galaxies obey the larger laws of space-time. This realization softens the way we think about time. It's not a tyrant's whip cracking behind us, but a companion, responsive and alive. It molds itself to movement, yielding just enough to keep the dance balanced. Perhaps that's why life feels faster when you rush. Your inner clock strained to keep pace, and in doing so, time seems to shrink. When you slow down, breathe deeply, and align your rhythms with the world, the seconds expand again, generous and full. Imagine for a moment that you could hear every clock in existence, from the spin of an electron to the turning of a galaxy. The sound would not be chaotic, but symphonic. Each tick, each oscillation would blend into a vast, humming continuum of being. Somewhere within that hum is your heartbeat, faint but essential. A single note in the chorus of time. Einstein once wrote that time is what clocks measure, but that definition misses the poetry. Time is what change feels like. It is the way we notice existence unfolding, the shimmer of difference between what was and what is. A heart is not just a pump. It is an instrument of awareness, translating physics into feeling. Its steady pulse is how we sense that life moves forward, even when we do not. Still, the heart is not perfect. Its rhythm wavers, skips, adjusts, just like the orbits of planets tugged by unseen gravities. We correct for those deviations with machines, insisting that the universe must conform to precision. But perhaps the beauty lies in the imperfection, in the way every living thing bends time slightly differently, creating an endless diversity of experience. If you have ever shared a quiet moment with someone and felt time slow down, you've glimpsed this truth. When emotion deepens, when awareness sharpens, our inner clocks stretch. Seconds feel heavy, rich, deliberate. In contrast, moments of fear or excitement compress them. The world speeds up, and we race to catch it. In both cases, physics and perception align. Motion changes time, and so do we. Your heartbeat, then, is more than a biological rhythm. It's a translation of relativity into flesh. Every pulse declares that you are in motion, that time is responding to you, shaping itself around your existence. And if every being has its own tempo, then the universe itself is a great tapestry of layered durations. A music of moments, each one unique, all interwoven. As night deepens around you, listen once more to your heart. Feel how it slows as you breathe more softly. You are calibrating yourself to stillness again, synchronizing, if only for a moment, with the wider rhythm of the cosmos. Somewhere far above, a satellite counts its seconds differently. Somewhere deeper still, a neutron star spins 1,000 times per second, its heartbeat faster than thought. All these clocks, yours, theirs, ours, are playing together in an invisible orchestra. And perhaps the wonder is not that their tempos differ, but that they never fall out of harmony. For every fast clock there is a slow one. For every stretched second another compressed. Together they keep the grand rhythm balanced. As you drift into rest, let that thought settle gently in your mind, that your heartbeat is the universe keeping time through you. And when it falters, slows, or skips, it is not broken. It is improvising, just like the stars. Tomorrow we'll turn to the young Einstein, the dreamer who first dared to suggest that this rhythm was not fixed at all. But before we meet him, let one final question echo softly in the dark. If every heart beats at its own tempo, then whose rhythm truly is time? The year is 1905. The streets of Bern glow faintly under gaslight, the cobblestones damp with evening rain. Somewhere inside a modest apartment above the patent office, a young man leans over his desk. He is not surrounded by test tubes or telescopes, but by papers, quiet pages filled with thought. His name is Albert Einstein, and though the world does not yet know it, he is about to rearrange the rhythm of the universe. Outside, carriages clatter, clocks chime, trains cross the Alps with industrial precision, symbols of an age ruled by certainty. Science believes it has the world mapped. Space is the grand stage upon which everything moves. Time ticks evenly for all. The cosmos, so it seems, is a vast, dependable machine. But inside that tiny room, the machine begins to tremble. Because here sits a clerk who questions the tick of the universe's clock. Einstein's revolution was not loud. There were no banners, no grand experiments with sparks and wires. It was a revolution of thought, rebellion born in stillness. Each day, he reviewed patents for other people's inventions, electric motors, magnetic relays, complicated contraptions meant to harness power and speed. And in that repetition, his mind began to drift. He imagined himself chasing a beam of light, running beside it, watching its waves frozen in mid-air. What would that look like? What would it mean? That simple act of imagination, so innocent, so childlike, cracked open the foundation of physics. Light, he realized, is not a passenger on the cosmic stage. It is the ruler of the stage itself. Nothing can outrun it. and no matter how fast you move toward or away from it, its speed remains the same. It defies logic, and yet experiments already hinted it was true. So Einstein did something extraordinary. Instead of forcing the world to fit our intuition, he let intuition bend. If light's speed is constant, then space and time themselves must change to protect that truth. It was a gentle but seismic idea. That time could slow, that distances could shrink, that simultaneity itself could dissolve depending on who is watching. The universe, once thought solid and absolute, became supple, alive. Space and time were no longer two separate fabrics, but one continuous weave. Space-time, rippling, stretching, folding in response to motion and energy. Imagine the courage this required. Every principle of physics, every philosophical comfort rested on the certainty of absolute time. To suggest otherwise was to challenge the bedrock of reason itself. Yet Einstein did not roar his discovery. He whispered it quietly, through equations written in neat pencil strokes. His papers of 1905, the Annus Mirabilis, the miracle year, would become the heartbeat of modern physics. But at the time, they were simply the reflections of a curious soul who refused to stop wondering. His insight came not from calculation, but contemplation. The image of a light beam became his meditation, his mantra. Each day, as he walked home through the lamplit streets, he returned to it. If I could travel at the speed of light, what would I see? He didn't have laboratories or funding. He had questions and an imagination that refused to stay within the boundaries of common sense. In a world that worshipped machines, Einstein found beauty in stillness. The trains outside might run on schedules, but in his mind, time itself began to dissolve. He saw that every observer carries their own clock, not just mechanical ones, but the clock of being, the tempo of existence itself. Two people moving differently through space would not agree on the same moment. The universe was not a single shared rhythm, but a tapestry of overlapping times, each woven from the thread of light. That's what makes this revolution gentle. It didn't overthrow truth, it revealed truth's softness. It taught us that nature is not rigid, but forgiving, not a clock, but a symphony. The laws of physics, once thought absolute, became relational, everything defined by everything else. Speed, position, even the flow of seconds. None exist alone. There is something profoundly human in that. Einstein's theory didn't just change physics, it changed how we imagine connection. It showed that observation shapes experience, that perspective is not error but essence. Just as two people can witness the same sunset and see different hues, two observers can measure the same event and feel time differently. And neither is wrong. Truth, like light, belongs to the relationship between them. In his notebooks, Einstein described thought experiments as if they were dreams. He pictured lightning striking both ends of a moving train. For one passenger, the flashes appear simultaneous. For someone standing still on the platform, one flash arrives first. The events are the same, but their order is not. Time itself is fluid, molded by motion and point of view. The universe, once a stage of certainty, became a dance of perspectives. And within that realization lies something poetic. That we, too, live in relativity, each of us carrying our own clock, our own measure of experience. When you are joyful, time sprints. When you are grieving, it crawls. We call it perception, but perhaps it's deeper than that. Maybe Einstein's equations echo the same truth your body already knows, that time stretches and folds with emotion, with attention, with movement through the living fabric of reality. His work revealed no cruelty in the cosmos, only elegance, a kind of quiet kindness woven into the laws themselves. Because for all its complexity, relativity preserves one profound symmetry. The speed of light never changes, It is constant, the one unbroken promise in a shifting universe. Everything else, space, time, motion, reshapes itself to protect that constancy. The universe sacrifices certainty to preserve beauty. Einstein himself was not seeking fame. He sought harmony, a deeper understanding of the order beneath apparent chaos. When he published his ideas, they met skepticism and confusion. But he remained calm, humble, almost amused. He once said, I have no special talents. I am only passionately curious. That curiosity, nurtured in quiet moments, would soon change not only how we see light, but how we see ourselves within it. So picture him again, the patent clerk, his hair unkempt, his eyes distant, lost in invisible worlds. Outside, the lamplighters finish their rounds. The streets dim. Inside, a candle flickers beside his notes. It is a small, steady flame, like the speed of light itself, unwavering through all that moves around it. That gentle glow becomes a metaphor for his discovery. Amid all motion, something remains constant. Amid the chaos of change, there is a rhythm that holds. Relativity did not destroy the old universe. It revealed that it was never fixed to begin with. The cosmos is not a clock, but a fabric, and we are threads within it, pulling, stretching, feeling the tension of time's weave. So as you lie here tonight, listening to the slow unfolding of thought, imagine yourself chasing that same beam of light, not to catch it, but to understand why it always remains just beyond reach. Because in that pursuit, you are reenacting Einstein's quiet revolution, the moment when wonder became law, and law became wonder, and as the night deepens, let one gentle question linger in the air between us. Not to answer, but to dream upon. If time bends for light, then what bends for us? Close your eyes and imagine the quiet of the void, a silence so complete that even light seems to move without sound. Now in that darkness, imagine something unseen yet tangible, a fabric soft and infinite, stretching in every direction. It has no color, no texture your fingers could feel, yet everything you've ever known, stars, atoms, your own breath, exists upon it. This is not metaphor alone. This is space-time, the invisible cloth from which reality itself is cut. Einstein's revolution left us here, at the edge of understanding that space and time are not separate threads, but one seamless weave. Where we once thought of emptiness, there is now structure. Where we once imagined time flowing like a river apart from space, we now see it intertwined. Each moment and each place bound in the same elastic fabric. It does not sit still. It bends, curves, and trembles with motion and mass. The universe, it turns out, is not built of bricks, but of rhythm. Picture a great loom suspended in nothingness. The threads are light itself, weaving an invisible tapestry that holds galaxies in place. Every particle, every star, every planet is a knot that tugs upon those threads, shaping the weave around it. The sun bends the space beneath it, and Earth, feeling that curvature, does not fall into the sun but follows its curve, orbiting not by force but by geometry. Gravity, that mysterious pull once imagined as an invisible hand, is revealed as the gentle warping of space-time's surface. If you could stand at a distance and see this fabric directly, you would see the universe ripple and bow. Where matter gathers, the fabric dips like a canvas beneath weight. Where energy surges, it vibrates in waves, waves that travel across the cosmos, carrying stories of motion and collision. Even now, the faint echoes of distant cataclysms, merging black holes, collapsing stars, are moving through you. You cannot feel them, yet your body rides their gentle undulations. Every second, space-time breathes through you. It's strange to think that something so fundamental could remain invisible. For most of history, space was merely emptiness, a backdrop for the play of matter. But relativity changed that. Space is not passive. It is alive with potential, reactive, responsive. The universe does not simply exist within space-time. That is space-time folding itself into being. And what of time? In this fabric, time is not a separate current, but one direction of the weave, an axis that stretches and contracts depending on how the threads are pulled. When mass gathers, it doesn't just curve space, it slows time. Seconds become longer near great bodies. Clocks tick differently, not from error, but from the breathing of the cosmos itself. The deeper you sit in a gravitational field, the slower your time flows compared to someone higher above. This means that right now your feet are aging just slightly more slowly than your head. You are, in a quiet sense, stretched across time's gradient, a living proof that the fabric moves through you even as you move through it. The image of the fabric of space-time is poetic, but it's also precise. Like any fabric, it can ripple, wrinkle, or tear. It can be drawn taut by energy or slackened by expansion. When the universe was young, its weave was dense, compressed, vibrating with newborn heat. Now it stretches, expanding outward like a great breath. Galaxies drifting apart as though exhaled from some ancient center. Each moment of cosmic expansion is another inhalation, another release. The universe grows not into empty space, but into itself, weaving new room for being. If you listen closely to this metaphor, it begins to hum with something almost spiritual. The cosmos is not static. It is alive with tension, elasticity, and grace. It is both structure and movement, both cradle and creature. The stars, bound by curvature, move in graceful arcs, not because they are compelled, but because they are following the contours of their own making. Like dancers tracing steps across a stage that bends beneath them, they are choreographed by the geometry of existence itself. Every object, large or small, contributes to this dance. Even you sitting still, bending space-time imperceptibly with your mass. The distortion is unimaginably tiny, but it is real. You too leave your imprint on the universe's cloth. In that way, the cosmos recognizes you, not symbolically, but physically. The stars feel your presence, however faintly, just as you feel theirs. Perhaps that is the quiet miracle of space-time. It makes belonging literal. We are not guests in the universe. We are woven into it. Each particle of your body curves space-time slightly, and that curvature changes the path of other particles around you. You are constantly reshaping the cosmos just as it shapes you. But what does it mean for time to bend? How can the same second stretch for one observer and shrink for another? Imagine two travelers, one on Earth and one aboard a spacecraft circling a black hole. To the traveler on the ship, time appears to flow normally, seconds passing in rhythm with her heartbeat. But to her friend watching from afar, her motion slows, her signals drawn out, her seconds elongated. Near the immense gravity of the black hole, the fabric of space-time stretches so dramatically that time itself nearly halts. The traveler hovers on the edge of forever, caught in the slowing breath of the universe. It's a haunting beauty, that time and space are not merely coordinates, but sensations of the same living field. And yet, the wonder lies not only in the physics, but in what it reveals about perception. We live as though time were linear, moving forward like footsteps on a road. But in this deeper truth, the road itself shifts with each step. Every movement changes the map. Every moment of awareness reshapes the very dimension it inhabits. So when you look up at the night sky, remember that what you see is not static. The stars above are frozen in time. Light that began its journey long before you were born, crossing the breathing fabric for millennia before reaching your eyes. You are seeing both past and present woven together, the fabric stretched across unimaginable distances, holding memory as form. There is tenderness in that realization. The universe does not simply contain history. It is history, preserved in its own curvature. Every mass, every motion, every breath leaves an indentation that never fully fades. The cosmos is a memory that remembers everything, not in words or images, but in the geometry of its own shape. As the night deepens, let yourself feel the quiet awe of that idea, that you, right now, are part of an immense, invisible weaving. You are both thread and pattern, both tension and release. Each thought, each heartbeat, each dream is another subtle ripple passing through space-time's cloth. The universe breathes, and through that breath you move. So as you rest, imagine the stars as threads beneath your fingers, soft, luminous, infinite. Imagine time as the motion of your hand across that fabric, slow and deliberate. Every second, every movement, every dream is a stitch in a pattern too vast to see all at once. And as you drift between moments, consider this gentle question, one that hums quietly within the heart of relativity itself. If the fabric of the universe can bend, ripple and breathe, then what in the end is it weaving us toward? Imagine for a moment that you are adrift in deep space. There is no up or down, no sound to remind you of direction, only the faint pulse of starlight arriving from impossible distances. You drift, gently, endlessly, and yet there is one rhythm that never wavers: the speed of light. No matter how fast you move, no matter which way you turn, light will always pass you at the same exact pace. One constant heartbeat of the cosmos, an unbreakable whisper woven into existence. What if the faster you move, the slower your life becomes? That question begins to echo here. Because this unwavering law, that light always moves at the same speed, is what forces time itself to bend, to hesitate, to protect the rule that light must never be outrun. Before Einstein, the world imagined light as something like a wave through an invisible ocean of ether. The ether was thought to be the still reference frame of the universe, a quiet sea against which motion could be measured. But when scientists tried to detect it, it was never there. Light refused to change speed, no matter how Earth turned or moved through space. It was as if the universe had silently declared, there is no stillness, only relation. And so in that quiet defiance, a new truth emerged. The speed of light was not just fast, it was final. It was the ultimate limit, the law that everything else must obey. To protect that constancy, space and time themselves must shift and stretch, allowing the law to hold. Picture the universe as a grand orchestra, and light as the metronome, ticking at one immutable tempo. Every motion, every rhythm in the cosmos must adjust to stay in harmony with that beat. When you move faster, your own rhythm changes, your seconds lengthen, your distances shorten, your heartbeat slow, so that no matter what, light remains steady in its grace. It's easy to underestimate how strange that really is. Imagine you're on a train moving near the speed of light, and you shine a flashlight forward. You might think the beam should move faster than light itself, your speed added to its own, but the universe refuses. To you, the light still moves away at the same familiar pace, and to an observer watching from the ground, the same holds true. Light moves at exactly the same speed for both of you, even though you are moving through space differently. The only way for that to be possible is for time and space to adjust, to bend and reshape, so that light never breaks its vow. In this strange way, light governs reality not through force, but through constancy. It does not command the universe to slow or stretch. It simply is, and everything else must adapt. Time slows for the traveler. Distances contract. The faster you go, the more reality reshapes itself around you, not as punishment, but as protection. There is something deeply poetic in that. The speed of light, about 300,000 kilometers per second, is not just a number. It's a principle, a covenant between energy and existence. It's as if the universe drew a line and said, this far and no further. And in the shadow of that limit, everything we know, motion, causality, life itself, finds its rhythm. Think about what this means. If you could somehow approach that speed, chasing a beam of light, you would find your time slowing. Seconds would begin to stretch. Your heart would beat more slowly, though to you it would feel unchanged. Your surroundings, seen from within, would compress, distances shrinking ahead of you. You would look back at the universe you left behind and see it aging faster, spinning forward through years while you experience only moments. The faster you move, the slower your world becomes. Now imagine what happens if you could somehow reach the speed of light. From your perspective, time would stop entirely. The entire history of the universe, every birth, every death, every breath, would unfold in a single instant. For light itself, there is no before or after, no journey through duration. Every destination is already reached, every path already traveled. In the silent heart of the photon, time does not pass. It isn't there. That is the profound stillness hidden beneath light's speed, the paradox of motion that feels timeless. Light moves faster than anything can move, yet within its frame, nothing moves at all. It is the most restless thing in the universe and yet the most serene. In a way, light represents perfection, not in beauty or symmetry, but in balance. It exists at the threshold between what can happen and what cannot. All things that have mass are forever barred from reaching its pace. They can only approach asymptotically, endlessly slowed by the very law they chase. The universe protects its speed not with walls but with grace, by turning the pursuit itself into time's deceleration. Perhaps that is why the cosmos chose light to be the messenger. Every photon that reaches your eyes carries not just energy, but memory, a precise account of the fabric it has crossed. When you look at a star, you are seeing light that has honored the law perfectly, keeping its pace for tens of thousands or millions or even billions of years. It has traveled across expanding space, through the gravity of galaxies, through the distortion of time itself, never once faltering. It arrives not late or early, but exactly as the universe allows. And here the metaphor grows deeper. Because if light is constant and everything else bends to protect that constancy, then perhaps constancy is not rigidity, but compassion. The universe adapts itself so that one truth may remain whole. Space stretches, time bends, reality breathes, all so that light can keep its perfect rhythm. In your own life, there is a faint echo of that same law. The faster you move, the more you chase, strive, accelerate, the more time seems to slip away. But when you slow down, when you allow stillness to meet motion, you begin to sense something similar to the way the universe behaves, a deep, paradoxical calm beneath constant change. Maybe this is not coincidence. Maybe our awareness, like light, reveals the boundaries of being by the way it interacts with time. So let this idea settle in your mind like the afterglow of a star. Light does not hurry, and it does not wait. It is everywhere at once, touching the past and the present in a single gesture. It does not compete with darkness, it defines it. And in doing so, it shows us what laws look like when they are not enforced, but embodied. Tonight, as you rest, imagine light not as something outside you, but as something within the quiet law that guides your heartbeat, your thoughts, your dreams. Imagine every photon that touches your skin as a whisper from the beginning of time, keeping the same rhythm it always has. The universe may be vast and restless, but light is its pulse, silent, eternal, unbroken, and as you drift into the calm between seconds, consider this. If light never changes its speed, then perhaps it is not light that moves through time, but time that moves through light. Close your eyes and picture yourself floating through the quiet dark, a single traveler adrift among the stars. Around you, everything seems motionless, suspended in a stillness so vast it almost hums. Yet deep beneath that calm, the universe is always moving. Every planet turns, every atom vibrates, every particle hums through its tiny trajectory. And you, even in stillness, are in motion too. Your body spinning with the Earth circling the sun gliding through the galaxy. You are never truly still. You are woven into a cosmic current. Now imagine this. You begin to move faster. At first, it feels familiar, a steady acceleration, like a wind picking up around you. But as your speed grows, something subtle begins to shift. Your seconds, once steady, once reliable, begin to stretch. Your heartbeat, your thoughts, your breath, all begin to slow, not because you feel tired, but because time itself is hesitating for you. This is not illusion.
It is not trick or perception.
It is the quiet, measurable reality of motion. The faster you move, the slower your time flows. To those you leave behind, your clocks would seem to lag, your pulses to delay, your life to unfold more slowly. The universe is not punishing you. It is adjusting, keeping balance, ensuring that the speed of light remains the same for everyone. Einstein's insight was as elegant as it was radical. Time is not a universal river flowing at the same rate for all. It is a flexible stream, bending and stretching according to your motion. Every traveler carries their own clock, and each clock runs differently depending on how it moves through the fabric of space-time. Motion and time are not separate. They are dancers moving to the same rhythm, partners in an unending waltz. Let's imagine a simple scene. Two twins born together under the same stars. One stays on Earth, and the other boards a spacecraft, setting out into the cosmos at near the speed of light. Years pass for the twin on Earth. Years filled with rising suns and falling nights, the soft rhythm of human life. But for the traveler racing through the void, those same years feel different. Time moves slower for her, her seconds stretched like silk. When she returns, her sibling is older, perhaps aged by decades, while she has only felt a few short years pass. This is not science fiction. This is the quiet arithmetic of reality. Experiments with precise atomic clocks have confirmed it. Aboard airplanes, orbiting satellites, even moving trains. The faster a clock moves, the slower it ticks. GPS systems must correct for this effect daily, or else our navigation would drift wildly off course. Time dilation isn't a theory to be believed. It's a fact that guides our technology, our measurements, our sense of now. But beneath the equations, there's something deeper, something poetic. What does it mean for time itself to be relative? What does it mean that every motion shapes its own flow of seconds? It means that time is not a background, but a participant. It is not something that happens to the universe. It is the universe, reshaped by every gesture of movement, every pulse of energy, every journey through space. To move is to sculpt time. When you walk, run, or breathe, you are subtly bending your own timeline, carving your unique path through the cosmic fabric. You will never notice it. The effect is too small. But it's there, written into the rhythm of your atoms. In a sense, motion creates time, because without motion, there would be no change, no sequence, no before or after. Time is the measure of motion, not just of planets or stars, but of consciousness itself. If we step back, the thought becomes dizzying. Imagine the universe as a great loom, each thread representing a possible path through space-time. Your life, from birth to this exact second, is one of those threads. Not straight, but curved gently by gravity, by speed, by the turns of your own motion.
As you move, you trace a unique shape through the fabric, your own space-time line.
And along that line, your seconds flow exactly as they must. There is no absolute now, no universal clock ticking above the stars. There is only your time, flowing according to how you move through the cosmic weave. That realization transforms something as ordinary as walking into something sacred. Every step you take is a small rearrangement of the cosmos, your personal signature written into the fourth dimension. Every journey from the orbit of a moon to the path of a thought is a different way of living through time, but this truth also holds a kind of tenderness. Because if time flows differently for every traveler, it means that each of us inhabits our own tempo of existence. The person beside you, breathing quietly in the same room, does not live in precisely the same moment as you. Their clock ticks ever so slightly differently, their seconds stretched by their unique rhythm of movement, position, and gravity. The differences are microscopic, but real. We are, all of us, drifting through slightly different currents of time, our lives brushing like ripples on the same sea. Perhaps that is why connection feels so mysterious. To love someone, to truly know them, is to reach across the subtle curvature of time, to touch another's rhythm and feel it align with yours, if only for an instant. In those moments of shared stillness, when you look into someone's eyes or hold their hand, perhaps time itself finds a point of harmony, a resonance between clocks. It's tempting to ask, what happens as we move faster and faster? Does time simply slow without end?
In theory, yes.
The closer we approach the speed of light, the more our seconds stretch. At the ultimate limit, time for the traveler would stop completely. From that vantage, 1,000 years could pass in the universe, yet the traveler would experience nothing. A single, frozen moment stretching into eternity. Motion and time would become one and the same, indistinguishable from stillness. And so, in this strange cosmic poetry, the faster we move through space, the slower we move through time. Each traveler must choose their balance, how much of their journey is spent in distance, and how much in duration. The universe gives us a constant energy, a fixed total, and lets us decide how to spend it. Some live long, slow lives rooted in stillness. Others move quickly through the world, their time compressed, their experience burning bright. Yet both are part of the same equation, two expressions of one truth. Motion becomes time, and time becomes motion. So tonight, as you rest, imagine the stars as slow dancers and yourself as one among them. Your body moving through the choreography of space-time, each step changing the rhythm of your seconds. Feel the quiet wonder that every breath, every movement, every thought subtly changes your passage through the universe. You are not merely in time, you are time, unfolding in motion. And as you drift towards sleep, let a final question linger like starlight fading beyond the horizon. If moving faster slows time, then what happens when we stop altogether? Does time vanish, or does it finally begin? Imagine two twins born beneath the same dawn. They share the same heartbeat at birth, the same laughter in childhood, the same sky above their window at night. For years, their lives move in rhythm, two pendulums swinging in perfect sync, until one day, one of them decides to leave. She looks to the stars and feels a quiet calling. The other stays, feeling the pull of home,
of familiar sunlight, of the steady clock ticking in the corner of their room. When the spacecraft lifts from the launch pad,
it carries more than metal and fuel. It carries one half of a shared timeline, peeling gently away from the other. The twin who remains on Earth watches the trail of fire fade into the atmosphere, feeling the strange tug of separation. Though she doesn't yet know, it's not just distance that divides them now. It's time itself. The traveler's ship glides into the dark, accelerating faster and faster until the Earth is no longer a sphere, but a blue memory. Out here, among the silent stars, time begins to slow for her, not by illusion or fatigue, but by the true geometry of motion. Her clock, ticking quietly beside her in the cabin, begins to drift out of sync with her sister's. Her seconds, stretched thin by velocity, begin to take on a different rhythm, like notes drawn out on a violin. Smoother, slower, more lingering, back on Earth. The The twin who stayed continues to live in ordinary time. She grows, she works, she dreams.
Seasons shift.
She watches the same constellations rise and fall through years, then decades. Her body ages gently, her thoughts deepen. Her time flows evenly, unbent by speed or cosmic travel. And yet, in some corner of her awareness, she knows that her sister, the one among the stars, is moving through a slower stream, her moments preserved, like drops of honey suspended in light. The story of the twins is one of the most famous thought experiments in all of physics, and one of the most human. It's called the twin paradox, though it is not truly a paradox at all. It is the inevitable consequence of Einstein's special relativity, written not as an equation this time, but as a story of love, distance, and the strange cost of motion. To understand why, imagine what it means to move near the speed of light. For the traveler, her ship's engines push her to a velocity where time itself must stretch to preserve the cosmic law that light's speed remains constant. Every heartbeat, every second of thought slows in perfect balance to her acceleration. From her perspective, everything inside the ship feels normal. Her clocks tick evenly. Her pulse feels steady. She lives in her own proper time. But if her sister could look at her from Earth, she would see her ship's clocks slowing, her motions drawn out, her entire life unfolding in slow motion. The symmetry, however, is broken when the traveler turns around. To come home, she must decelerate, reverse her motion, and return toward Earth. In that moment, she changes her frame of reference. And with that change, the universe recalibrates her time. The turn, brief though it may be, is the hinge of the paradox. It's the moment when the two clocks diverge forever, and so, when the spacecraft finally returns to the blue world it left behind, years, perhaps centuries, have passed on Earth. The twin who stayed is now aged, her hair silver, her memories layered with lifetimes of ordinary days. The traveler steps out of the ship, and her face is young, unchanged, her eyes still reflecting the same starlight she saw when she left. What feels like a few years to her has been decades for her sister. Time, once shared, has forked into two different rivers. It is one of the most haunting consequences of relativity, that two people who once shared a moment can age differently simply by moving apart. Time, it seems, has no single rhythm. Each path through space-time carries its own tempo. And though the equations that describe it are coldly precise, the emotion behind them is quietly profound. The cost of motion is youth itself. The faster you go, the slower you grow old. But perhaps there's a hidden grace in that exchange. The twin who travels doesn't lose those years on, she lives them differently. Her moments, though fewer, are richer, stretched by the cosmic elasticity of speed. And the twin who stayed doesn't merely wait. She witnesses the unfolding of time in its full measure, the beauty of change and decay, the full arc of human experience. They each live a truth that the other cannot. One experiences duration, the other preservation. Both are pieces of what it means to be alive in a relativistic universe. Scientists have tested versions of this paradox on smaller scales, not with human twins, but with atomic ones. Identical clocks flown around the world on jets have returned, ticking, slower than those left on Earth. Satellites orbiting above us experience time differently than we do on the surface. There, clocks must be corrected constantly because they run faster by microseconds each day. The effect is real, measurable, and constant. The universe bends for motion, always. Yet beyond the precision of these experiments, there is something deeply poetic about the twin story. It transforms abstract physics into human feeling. It turns mathematics into metaphor, because in some sense we are all those twins. Part of us reaching for motion, part of us rooted in stillness. The tension between them defines our experience of time. We leave, we return, we find the world changed. Even without rockets or relativity, life itself is a journey through unequal times. Think of how it feels to travel. How a week spent wandering in some faraway place can feel like a single long breath, while a week at home may pass almost unnoticed. Time, even in the human mind, is elastic. We stretch it with attention, with emotion, with movement. Einstein's universe simply reveals that this elasticity is not illusion, but law, written into the fabric of existence itself. The twin paradox also carries a kind of quiet sadness. It reminds us that no reunion is ever perfect. When we return, be it from travel, from change, from the simple passing of years, we can never truly step back into the same moment we left. Time once parted cannot be rewound. The twin who returns finds a world aged without her. The one who stayed sees a face that carries no sign of shared aging.
Love endures, but time does not align, and yet there is beauty even in that asymmetry.
It means that every journey leaves an imprint, not only on the traveler but on time itself. Each path through space-time is unique. No two lives ever run parallel for long. The universe does not repeat, it composes variations. Each of us is a melody written in the tempo of our own motion. So tonight, as you rest, imagine yourself as one of those twins.
One version of you stays here, listening, grounded in the quiet rhythm of the present.
The other drifts outward, past the moon, past the stars, into the slow pulse of cosmic time. Out there, your seconds are stretched like silk.
Here they fall like rain.
Both versions of you are true. Both are you, bound by love across the widening distance of space-time. And as the stars move overhead, let this thought linger gently. Maybe time isn't something that separates us after all, but the thread that keeps us connected, no matter how far we travel. High above the spinning Earth, a constellation of silent machines circles endlessly. Satellites gliding through the cold vacuum, their paths measured in milliseconds and meters. To us on the ground, they are invisible, their signals unseen, their movements precise. Yet every direction we take, every route mapped, every step guided by our phones, depends on their invisible rhythm. Each satellite carries a clock, and every one of those clocks ticks differently than ours. It's a quiet, constant miracle. A system built upon the bending of time. At the heart of the global positioning system, the GPS that we trust to find a cafe or cross an ocean, lies Einstein's legacy. When the first engineers began to plan satellite navigation, they quickly realized that the clockwork precision of Newton's universe wasn't enough. The equations that described motion and gravity on Earth would not hold steady in orbit. Something subtle, something invisible, would shift time itself. Imagine a satellite orbiting 20,000 kilometers above the Earth. Up there, gravity is weaker. The pull of the planet has softened. And because gravity slows time, the clocks on board those satellites tick faster than those on Earth's surface. But motion, too, has its say. As the satellites speed around the planet at nearly 14,000 kilometers per hour, their high velocity causes time to slow down. Two opposing effects, tugging in opposite directions. Einstein gave us both laws, one from his theory of special relativity, the other from general relativity. Special relativity says when you move fast, time slows. General relativity says when you climb higher, away from gravity, time speeds up. For satellites, both truths apply. The question is, which wins? The answer is delicate, beyond a balance measured in billionths of a second. The gravitational effect dominates. The higher altitude makes time run slightly faster, by about 45 microseconds per day. The velocity of orbit slows it by about 7 microseconds per day. The result? The satellite's clock runs ahead of ours by 38 microseconds every day. It sounds infinitesimal, less than the blink of an eye spread across 24 hours. But for GPS, which measures distances by how long it takes a signal to reach you, even a single microsecond means a positional error of hundreds of meters. Without correction, GPS would fail within minutes, so the engineers did something extraordinary. They slowed the satellite's clocks before launch. The onboard oscillators were tuned to tick slightly slower on Earth, so that once in orbit, the combined effects of speed and gravity would bring them back into perfect synchronization with the clocks on the ground. Each satellite lives in its own warped flow of time, but together they form a harmonious symphony, a network where every instrument plays in a different tempo. Yet the music aligns perfectly. Every time you open your phone and see a map center itself around your location, you are touching Einstein's universe. The GPS receiver in your pocket listens to signals from at least 4 satellites at once. Each one broadcasts the precise moment, according to its clock, when a signal left it. By comparing those times with the signal's arrival, your phone calculates how far you are from each satellite, and thus where you stand on the spinning globe. It's a triangulation built on warped time. Without relativity, your position would drift miles off course every minute. Planes would miss their runways, ships would wander, maps would lose meaning. Every direction we take, every line we draw across the Earth, is balanced delicately on time's curved surface. The very notion of where we are depends on an agreement between clocks that disagree.
About what a second means, we often think of Einstein's
Theories as cosmic abstractions, concepts meant for black holes or distant galaxies. Yet they live quietly in our pockets, guiding us to the grocery store, tracking parcels, timing bank transactions, syncing global communications. The bending of time is not distant, it is domestic. Every day, billions of humans rely on the truth that time is not absolute. Sometimes it's humbling to realize how dependent our world has become on these subtle, relativistic corrections. The satellites orbiting above us are, in a sense, proof that our understanding of the universe works, not just in theory, but in practice. They are machines that believe in relativity, and in doing so, they make modern life possible. Consider what it means, then, to look up at the night sky. Each small point of light we see, and whether it's a star, a planet, or a passing satellite, is moving through a different tempo of time.
no 2 clocks in the universe tick the same.
Time is not a river flowing evenly. It is a landscape of hills and valleys, warped by motion and gravity. We live on one small slope of that terrain, and yet, through understanding, we have learned to navigate it. In the early days of spaceflight, scientists worried. Would the effects of relativity truly appear? Would clocks really diverge as Einstein predicted? They built atomic clocks and flew them aboard aircraft, rockets, and satellites. Every time the same result emerged. Time bent obediently to the equations. Even the simplest experiment, placing one clock on a mountain and leaving another at sea level, reveals the truth. The higher one runs slightly faster. The world itself is a laboratory if we have the patience to measure. This difference in time has even found a quiet poetry in technology. The phrase space-time synchronization could sound mechanical, but it hints at something almost philosophical: the unity of motion, matter, and time. The satellites above us and the cities below are linked by invisible threads of timing data, all adjusted so that our human sense of now remains consistent. Perhaps it's worth pausing to appreciate how astonishing that is. A shepherd once looked up at the stars to find direction. Now satellites, tiny bright dots of moving metal, look down to guide us instead. The heavens have become our map, their rhythm intertwined with our lives, and yet there's something quietly human in the story of these orbiting clocks. They remind us that even the most familiar things, the seconds we count, the steps we take, are shaped by forces far larger than ourselves. Time, it turns out, is not something we possess, but something we share with the universe. Every moment of navigation, every route that leads us home, is an act of cosmic cooperation. Gravity and motion conspire to bend time. Mathematics and engineering conspire to straighten it again. And through that delicate balance, we find our way. So next time your phone guides you down a winding road or across a continent, think of the sky above, the quiet satellites humming through the dark, their clocks racing ahead while ours lag behind. Between them and us lies the proof that time is not constant, and yet, by understanding its bending, we make the world coherent. Every map is a poem of physics. Every journey is drawn across the curve of time. Imagine standing at the base of a vast mountain. The air thins, the pressure fades, and though your eyes can't tell, time itself begins to loosen its grip. Down here, closer to the Earth's dense heart, your seconds pass ever so slightly slower than those at the summit. Your feet live in a slightly different tempo from your head. You have always been two different ages at once. It's a truth so subtle it feels like poetry. And yet, it is physics. Einstein, sitting at his desk in 1907, called it the happiest thought of his life. He imagined a person falling freely through space, weightless, the world dropping away. To that person, the feeling of gravity vanishes. The same would be true, he realized, for someone floating in deep space, far from any planet. The sensations were identical, and so he concluded, acceleration and gravity must be the same thing, two expressions of one reality, speaking in the same mathematical language. From that single insight, the universe changed shape. Gravity was no longer a force pulling objects downward. It became the bending of space-time itself, a slow, graceful dance in which mass tells time how to flow and time tells matter how to move. Picture space-time as a great, supple sheet. A planet, a star, even your own body, presses gently into it, warping the fabric. The greater the mass, the deeper the curve, and the slower time flows in that valley. Not because something pushes or resists, but because the geometry of the universe itself has tilted. Time does not pass the same everywhere. It ripples and folds in response to matter's quiet presence. Down here, near Earth's surface, we are all participants in this gentle distortion. Our seconds, though invisible, are drawn out, stretched thin by the planet's gravity. In orbit, where satellites drift free of that deep curvature, time runs faster. On the moon, faster still. And in the heart of a star where gravity crushes inward, time nearly halts. We live our entire lives inside this slow dance, a choreography so perfect we never notice it. When Einstein's theory of general relativity first emerged, it sounded like metaphysics. Elegant maybe, but untethered from proof. Then in 1959, two scientists, Pound and Rebka, set up an experiment at Harvard University. They placed one atomic clock in the basement of a tower and another at the top. They measured the frequency of light traveling between them and found that the light arriving below had shifted ever so slightly, its rhythm stretched by gravity. The clock at the top ticked a tiny bit faster. It was a minuscule difference, yet it confirmed one of the most profound truths ever uncovered. Time itself bends under gravity's hand. Even today, when scientists design ultra-precise atomic clocks, they must correct for height differences as small as a few centimeters. Raise a clock by 1 foot, and it ticks faster by a fraction so small you'd need decades to notice. Yet the difference exists, measurable, real. Every skyscraper, every mountain, every flight between altitudes plays out in slightly different tempos of time. To stand on Earth, then, is to be stretched across time's gradient. Your head, farther from the planet's mass, ages faster than your feet. The difference is microscopic, but constant. You are a living measure of Einstein's idea, the geometry of your own body divided by the pull of gravity. But there's a deeper beauty in this realization, one that transcends numbers and equations. It reveals that time has weight, that every massive thing, star, planet, black hole, even you, bends the flow of existence around it. The universe, in its quiet way, responds to presence. To exist is to curve reality. Think of the Earth's orbit around the Sun. We often imagine the Sun pulling at us with an invisible force, keeping our planet captive in its grasp. But Einstein's picture is subtler and far more graceful. The Sun simply bends space-time around itself. The Earth, following the natural curves of that space, moves as if it were rolling along the inner surface of a vast, invisible bowl. It doesn't need to be pulled, it's simply following the easiest path through a curved geometry. And within that curvature, time slows. If you could place a clock near the Sun's surface and another far away, you would see them drift apart in rhythm. The closer clock would lag, trapped in the Sun's heavy field. The farther one would race ahead. Each region of the cosmos lives in its own local version of time, shaped by the nearby masses. Even the light that leaves a star must climb out of this slow dance. As it escapes, it loses energy, stretching into redder wavelengths, a cosmic sigh known as gravitational redshift. It's as though the light itself grows tired, climbing against time's gradient. Black holes take this phenomenon to its ultimate extreme. In those dark hearts of collapsed stars, gravity curves space-time so deeply that time stops entirely at the event horizon. From our perspective, anything falling toward a black hole appears to freeze, suspended forever at the edge. To the falling object, though, time continues normally. Two truths coexisting, one external, one internal, divided by gravity's infinite pull. The slow dance becomes a full stop. Perhaps that's the most haunting thing about gravity. It doesn't just pull on matter, it pulls on time, on meaning, on the rhythm of reality itself. The next time you drop a stone into water, watch how the ripples spread outward, how the surface bends around the falling shape. That's a small echo of the universe's language. Wherever there is mass, there is curvature. Wherever there is curvature, time hesitates, and in this, something quietly human reveals itself. We too leave impressions on the world around us. Emotional gravity, the invisible pull of memory and connection. When you love, you bend time for someone else. Moments expand, linger, resist ending. The physics of the cosmos and the feeling of the heart are not so different. Both shape the way time flows. Einstein may have written equations, but what he really described was empathy at a universal scale, the capacity of presence, in mass or meaning, to alter the tempo of existence. And so, every mountain, peak, and every valley becomes a silent proof that the universe is not rigid but alive, breathing through gravity's rhythm. The deeper the gravity well, the slower the pulse of time. Even our planet's rotation and orbit participate in this grand cadence. We live in a waltz we can never quite hear, but always feel. Perhaps that's why we're drawn to stillness, to lying on the ground and watching the stars. We sense, in some primal way, the gentle curvature beneath us, the slow turning of the Earth's mass, bending space-time into the cradle that carries us. We belong to that motion, that hesitation of seconds. As you drift into thought tonight, consider this. Somewhere, deep in a star's core, time barely moves, and here, where gravity's pull is kind, it flows gently onward, slow enough to let us dream, fast enough to let us live. Between these extremes, the cosmos dances, and we, small as we are, keep the beat. There are places in the universe where time itself forgets how to move. Places where seconds cling to the edges of eternity, trembling at the brink of silence. To stand near such a place, even in imagination, is to glimpse the limit of all motion, all causality, a horizon beyond which time ceases to be a river and becomes a frozen sea. This is the domain of black holes, the deepest folds in the universe's breathing fabric. Imagine approaching one. Far away, the stars still scatter their ordinary light, planets still turn, clocks still tick in gentle obedience to gravity's slow dance. But as you draw near, everything begins to change. The black hole does not reveal itself as a solid surface or a wall, but as a region of pure geometry, a curvature so intense that even light cannot escape its embrace. Its border, the event horizon, is not a thing but a limit, a one-way threshold between knowing and never knowing again. If you were to watch someone fall toward that horizon, you would see their movements slow, their signals redshifted, fading to darkness. Time, from your vantage point, stretches endlessly for them. Each motion, each heartbeat elongates into stillness. You would never see them cross. To you, they freeze on the edge of forever, light dimming until it becomes indistinguishable from the surrounding night. Yet to the one who falls, time flows normally. Their watch continues to tick, their thoughts drift naturally forward. They cross the horizon without noticing the exact moment it happens. Because nothing extraordinary occurs locally, the laws of physics remain indifferent even as the cosmos outside seems to hold its breath. Two realities unfold at once, one stretched, one seamless. This is the essence of gravitational time dilation taken to its limit. As gravity deepens, time slows. At the event horizon, gravity's pull becomes infinite, and so does time's hesitation. From the outside, the black hole becomes a vault for lost time, where every falling thing is frozen at the edge, perpetually suspended in the final instant before disappearance. Einstein's equations predicted such objects long before anyone believed they could exist. They emerged as mathematical curiosities, regions where mass collapses into zero volume, density soaring beyond comprehension. For decades, physicists resisted the notion, calling them singularities, artifacts of an incomplete theory. But the universe, it seems, had already written them into its design. When astronomers later observed the motions of stars whipping around invisible centers, when they heard the echoes of gravitational waves from merging holes of darkness, the myth became a fact. Black holes were real, not metaphors, not mistakes, but the ultimate expression of relativity's logic. In them, motion and gravity converge so completely that time itself is undone. Inside the event horizon, the directions of space and time trade places. The flow of time becomes a path inward. To move forward in time is to move closer to the singularity.
There is no standing still, no pause.
All futures lead to the same destination. The center, where the known laws of physics surrender, no observer can return to describe it. The very concept of after or outside loses meaning there. What remains is geometry at its most extreme, space-time folded upon itself, the curve so deep it becomes a knot that no light can untie. And yet, despite their darkness, black holes are luminous in what they reveal about the nature of the cosmos. Around their horizons, matter glows fiercely, heated by the violence of its descent. The gas spiraling inward forms an accretion disk that radiates across the spectrum. X-rays, visible light, radio waves, each photon fleeing for freedom, each one slightly slower to escape than the last. The closer to the edge it is born, the more its wavelength stretches, the redder it becomes, until it too fades into invisibility. In 2019, humanity saw its first direct image of one, the black hole at the heart of galaxy M87, captured by the Event Horizon Telescope. What we saw was not the hole itself, but the halo of light bent and trapped by its gravity, a glowing ring surrounding darkness. It was as if the universe had painted its own signature. Proof that the equations carved by Einstein more than a century ago were not merely abstract, but alive in the fabric of reality. That photograph was not just an image of a celestial object. It was an image of time's edge, a portrait of what happens when existence reaches its mathematical conclusion. But there is something even more haunting. According to relativity, information cannot be destroyed. And yet, everything that falls into a black hole seems to vanish completely. Matter, light, structure, even the imprint of what once was. The paradox gnaws at physicists. If nothing escapes, what happens to the information that once described those things? Is it encoded somehow in the horizon itself, stretched thin across the surface like a cosmic memory?
Or does it truly cease to exist?
This tension between physics and oblivion has given rise to one of the most profound ideas of modern science, the holographic principle. It suggests that everything inside a region of space may be described by information on its boundary. The interior of a black hole, then, might be a hologram projected from its event horizon, a cosmic illusion that preserves in 2 dimensions everything that fell within 3. If so, our entire universe might be a holographic construct, its vast volume encoded on a distant,
Imperceptible surface. What
began as an exploration of time's slowing kneel. Gravity's depths has led to the possibility that space and time themselves are emergent, shadows cast by something even more fundamental. And yet, standing back from these abstractions, one can feel the emotional weight of what a black hole represents. It is the perfect metaphor for loss. The point beyond return, where memories and matter dissolve into a silence that even light cannot carry. But it is also a symbol of continuity, of how every ending conceals a transformation. Some theories suggest that black holes might not destroy information at all, but re-release it through quantum radiation, a faint whisper known as Hawking radiation. If true, black holes slowly evaporate over eons,
radiating away their essence until they vanish,
leaving behind only light, even in the deepest darkness. The universe finds a way to speak. To contemplate a black hole is to face the asymptote of time, the place where before and after lose their boundaries. Here, causality no longer guarantees order. The past can bleed into the future. Distances become meaningless. The singularity, that final point of infinite density, is not just an end, but perhaps a beginning, a seed for another cosmos, a rebirth of the very laws that made it. Perhaps our universe itself was born from such an event, the collapse of a previous reality's horizon, expanding outward in its own explosion of space-time. If so, then every galaxy, every heartbeat, every moment of thought could trace its lineage to the silence inside a black hole. Time, then, is not merely slowed there, it is reimagined. And as you sit here, listening in the stillness of the night, you can almost sense the echo of that horizon. The way your own moments lengthen when you fall into wonder, when you linger between thoughts. The way silence dilates, holding the edges of meaning just a little longer. That, too, is a kind of time dilation, a human one. Perhaps that's the closest we'll ever come to understanding what happens at the edge of forever. A place where motion ceases, gravity deepens, and time itself, the most familiar of companions, pauses to take a breath. Imagine this: a photon, born in the furious heart of a distant star, slips free from the atomic furnace and begins its journey across the cosmos. To us, that journey might take 100 years or 1,000,000. We could watch its light travel, measure its speed, trace its trajectory through the void. But from the photon's own point of view, if it can be said to have one, the trip is instantaneous. The moment of departure and the moment of arrival are the same. No time passes. This is the strangest and most beautiful paradox at the heart of relativity. The universe looks utterly different when seen through light's eyes. For everything that moves slower than light, planets, people, particles, even the fastest spacecraft, time and distance remain inseparable companions. The faster you move, the more they bend and twist together. As you approach light speed, time dilates, stretching thin. The universe before you contracts, flattening toward the direction of travel. And then, at light speed itself, the equations reach their limit. Time halts completely, and space collapses into a single, indivisible instant. A photon doesn't experience motion the way we do. It does not depart or arrive. It simply is everywhere along its path at once. From its perspective, there is no journey, no waiting, no in-between. The entire expanse of its voyage, from the heart of a star to the back of your eye, exists in a single flash of being. And that raises a question almost too deep to grasp. What does it mean to exist without time? For us, time is the foundation of meaning. We live by its rhythm, cause and effect, before and after, memory and anticipation. It is the thread that lets stories unfold, that lets consciousness experience change. Without it, everything would happen at once. A frozen universe of simultaneity, but for light, that frozen universe is reality. When Einstein wrote that the speed of light is constant for all observers, he wasn't simply stating a property of motion. He was describing the border between two domains of existence. Below light speed, all things move through time.
At light speed, one steps outside of it.
The photon lives on that boundary, an eternal witness moving through a world of unfolding moments it never experiences. Consider again that photon leaving a star in the Andromeda galaxy, 2 million light-years away. From our vantage point, it travels for ages, crossing the intergalactic night until it enters our telescopes. We see its light tonight, but it began its journey before humanity existed. Yet for the photon, there was no waiting, no gap between origin and arrival. Its entire journey was compressed into a single,
indivisible event. If you could somehow ride along with that photon, though the laws of physics forbid it, everything in front of you would collapse into a single plane of light.
The universe would flatten, the stars ahead merging into one infinitely bright point. Distances would cease to exist. Time would have no meaning. You would not move through the cosmos. You would be the line that connects 2 points in space, existing fully in the present of both. The philosopher might call that eternity. The physicist, a null interval. Both are correct. This strange view from the photon's frame touches something ancient in our imagination, the yearning to understand timelessness. Across cultures and centuries, humans have spoken of an eternal present, a dimension where birth and death, cause and consequence merge into stillness. And here, in the mathematics of relativity, that poetic notion finds a scientific shadow. Light, in its ceaseless flight, lives in that timeless domain. When light touches your face after leaving the sun 8 minutes ago, you feel warmth that, from the photon's perspective, was emitted and absorbed in the same instant. The sunlight that paints the ocean, that glows through the leaves, that reflects from your eyes, all of it in the frame of light itself, happens now, always now. In a sense, light is the messenger of the universe's present tense. It carries information from one place to another, but in doing so, it erases the distance between those moments. Every image you see, every color, every glimmer of starlight is a translation of timelessness into time. The photon does not age, but through it we see aging. It does not move, yet through it we measure motion, and there's something almost spiritual in that realization. Light does not just illuminate space, it connects all moments of the cosmos in a single, silent act of being. It's as if the universe continually writes itself into visibility through the language of photons. using eternity as ink. To see light, then, is to see what it looks like when time stands still. But we are creatures of duration. Our hearts beat, our cells divide, our memories stretch in sequence. To us, timelessness is not a natural habitat, but a mystery, a horizon we can approach through thought, but never cross. Perhaps that's why light fascinates us so deeply. It embodies what we cannot experience, but can almost imagine. Every sunrise is a quiet reenactment of that paradox. Photons streaming from the sun, traversing 150 million kilometers of vacuum, reaching your eyes without ever having traveled in their own frame of reference. Each golden beam is both ancient and immediate, a bridge between what was and what is, and every night when you look up at the stars, you're seeing across time. Photons that began their journey before your ancestors took their first steps. Yet for those photons there was no journey at all. They have always been arriving. This idea invites a subtle reflection. If light experiences no passage of time, then every photon that ever existed is still, in its own frame, in contact with its source. In that view, the universe is not a collection of events unfolding, but a single, complete pattern, a tapestry woven all at once. Time, in our experience, is simply the way we move through that pattern, thread by thread. And so perhaps the photon's eternal now isn't alien. It's a glimpse of something larger than our perception allows. It suggests that everything, the birth of stars, the fall of rain, the rise of thought, may already coexist in a vast, timeless whole. We are the ones who unfold it, slowly, moment by moment, like readers tracing a finger across the lines of a book that is already written. The photon knows the ending and the beginning as one. As you sit beneath the dim glow of your own small world, remember that every flicker of light around you carries the same silent wisdom. The candle's flame, the shimmer of city lights, the faint pulse of distant galaxies, all of them exist in an eternal present. They remind us that time, for all its power, is only one way of looking at reality. Light sees everything at once, and perhaps, in our quietest moments, so do we. We live surrounded by clocks, ticking, pulsing, glowing on our wrists and walls and screens. They count seconds with perfect precision, indifferent to our moods, our fatigue, our joy. But inside us, another kind of clock keeps time, elastic, subjective, and deeply human. It beats not with gears or quartz, but with perception and feeling. We measure time with machines, but we feel it with memory. This inner clock can run fast or slow, stretch or vanish altogether.
A single minute in fear can feel eternal. An entire afternoon in love can disappear in an instant.
Our brains do not experience time as an even flow. They sculpt it, distort it, and rearrange it according to attention and emotion. The result is that each of us, in every moment, inhabits a personal space-time of consciousness. If Einstein showed that motion bends time, perhaps our minds show that meaning does too. Consider how we perceive a single second. Neuroscientists tell us that the present, the now we experience, isn't truly instantaneous. It's a window about 3 seconds wide, stitched together from sensory inputs and memory fragments. Your brain collects slices of experience and blends them into a smooth flow, like frames of a film projected too fast to see individually. So the present is not a point. It's a construction, a tiny theatre where perception performs the illusion of continuity. But even within that small theatre, the tempo shifts. When we're anxious, our internal metronome accelerates. We register more ticks of awareness per second, so time feels slow and dense. When we're absorbed, reading, dancing, dreaming, attention narrows and the sense of passing moments dissolves. In this way, emotion acts like gravity. It warps the fabric of subjective time, pulling seconds longer or shorter depending on the weight of feeling. A child, Seeing the world for the first time experiences each moment as vast. Summer vacations feel endless because every day brings novelty, and novelty stretches perception.
As we age, the world fills with repetition.
Days blur, the brain compresses familiar experiences, and time appears to accelerate.
Years begin to fold into each other like pages, turning faster toward the end of a book. It isn't that time changes. It's that the density of memory does.
The more distinct impressions we record, the longer a span seems in retrospect. Memory, then, is not just a record of time, but its texture. If clocks are made of gears, memory is made of meaning. Psychologists have found that our inner sense of duration depends heavily on what the mind is doing. Waiting in silence makes seconds feel heavier. Multitasking can make hours vanish. Time expands in danger. A falling object, a car crash, the sharp focus of adrenaline, because the brain floods with detail, encoding every instant in high resolution. That flood of information makes the memory feel long, even if the event lasted only a heartbeat. In contrast, peaceful repetition, a long drive, a daily routine, compresses experience into a blur. The moment feels long while it happens, but short in memory. Life, in this sense, is a dialogue between attention and time. What we notice expands. What we ignore disappears. It's tempting to think that physics and psychology live in separate worlds. One objective, one subjective, but perhaps they are mirrors. Einstein showed that time bends with motion and gravity. Our minds show that it bends with emotion and meaning. Both describe the same truth from different scales. That time is not a fixed background, but a relationship between observer and event. In that light, consciousness itself could be viewed as a kind of biological relativity. Each person is an observer frame moving through the universe at the speed of experience. When you are immersed in joy, time dilates, your awareness expands, and the world seems to slow. When you are numb or distracted, awareness contracts, and time slips through unnoticed. It is as if every heartbeat defines its own small universe, every thought its own coordinate system. We talk about losing track of time, but perhaps it's more accurate to say that time loses track
Of us, that our attention detaches from the steady march of seconds
and drifts into another dimension of awareness. Meditation, music, art, and love all seem to bend time this way, creating pockets where linearity dissolves and we live entirely in the moment's depth. In those states, the self itself becomes fluid. You are no longer watching the clock. You are within time's current, carried along by it. Some philosophers call this flow, others presence, others eternity. But all point toward a truth older than science. That time, when felt fully, is not a sequence but a circle. The eternal now that mystics and poets have always described. Even memory, our anchor to chronology, is not fixed. It rewrites itself. Each time we recall an event, we alter it slightly, merging present emotion with past impression. In this way, our minds do not just store time, they continuously create it. The past is rebuilt in the light of the present. If the photon, in its timeless flight, experiences no duration at all, we might say the human mind does the opposite. It creates duration out of nothing. Between sensory moments, our consciousness stitches gaps, turning the discrete into continuous. We manufacture time the way the universe manufactures light, ceaselessly, effortlessly, invisibly. And just as the cosmos expands, so too does our sense of it. Think of how time feels during grief, heavy, suffocating, each minute an ache. Compare it to laughter where hours vanish. In both, the same seconds tick by on the clock, yet the lived geometry of time has changed. Emotional gravity bends it, pulling or releasing the flow of experience. If physics speaks of space-time, then psychology speaks of mind-time, the flexible field through which we move, not with velocity, but with awareness. In the end, our relationship with time may not be about measuring it at all. It may be about feeling it, learning to stretch and savor the present, to inhabit duration instead of counting it. Perhaps wisdom is the art of synchronizing the external clock with the internal one, aligning the seconds of the world with the moments of the heart. We will never escape time's current, but we can learn to swim within it, to notice the eddies and slow waters where awareness deepens, and maybe, just maybe, when we truly pay attention, when we lose ourselves in music, in love, in wonder, we touch something akin to the photon's timeless realm. For a moment, the mind's motion matches the universe's stillness, and time, both outer and inner, dissolves into pure being. Imagine two lightning bolts striking opposite ends of a quiet meadow. You stand in the center and see the flashes at the same instant. A single moment, a perfect symmetry. But for someone watching from a moving train, the light from one bolt reaches them first. What was simultaneous for you becomes sequential for them. The universe, it turns out, does not agree on now. Welcome to one of Einstein's most quietly radical ideas, the illusion of simultaneity. In our daily lives, we believe that the present is shared, that right now exists everywhere at once, in this room,
On the moon, on a distant planet orbiting another star.
It feels natural to assume that all clocks, if perfect enough, could strike the same moment together. Yet relativity whispers otherwise. It tells us that now is not a universal line cutting across the cosmos. It is a local slice, a personal cross-section through the fabric of space-time, defined by your motion, your position, your relationship to light itself. Two observers moving differently will not just see events in different orders. They will disagree on whether those events even happened at the same time. If space and time are threads of a single fabric, simultaneity is how we choose to cut it. Each observer slices space-time at a slightly different angle, creating their own version of the present. There is no single, flat moment of the universe. There are as many moments as there are perspectives. This is where relativity stops being merely scientific and becomes quietly spiritual. For most of human history, we imagined the cosmos as a great stage and time as the rhythm guiding its performance. The actors, stars, planets, people, might move at different tempos, but the stage itself was solid, objective, synchronized. Einstein dismantled that certainty. He revealed that there is no central clock, no divine conductor setting a universal beat. Instead, each observer carries their own tempo, their own rhythm of being. Time, then, is not the same for all. It is a relationship, not a constant, a conversation between you and the universe. Think of how this feels in life. You and a friend watch the same sunset. The sky burns orange for both of you, yet your experiences differ. For one, it may carry nostalgia. For the other, quiet relief. The physical event, photons scattering through air, happens objectively. But its meaning, its emotional timing, its now, is subjective. Einstein simply extended this intuition to the very structure of reality. In physics, simultaneity breaks down because light, though fast, is not infinite. Every observation we make is delayed by distance. When you look at the moon, you see it as it was a little more than a second ago. When you gaze at a star, you see its ancient light, perhaps thousands of years old. The present, even as you try to grasp it, is already a collage of the past. Different moments arriving together. Pretending to be one, we call this illusion the present moment. But it is really a tapestry woven from delays. If you could see everything as it truly is, if you could somehow remove the light's travel time, you would find no single instant binding the universe together. Some galaxies would still be in their infancy, while others would already be dust. Time, seen globally, is fractured, each region living in its own chapter of cosmic history. And yet, from within our tiny corner, everything feels continuous. The illusion of simultaneity is not a flaw in perception. It is the harmony that makes existence livable. To survive, consciousness must compress the fragmented universe into coherence. We must believe in now, even if physics tells us it's an approximation. It is comforting, perhaps, that this illusion is necessary. Without it, causality itself would be impossible. Without the feeling that events unfold in order, we could not think, plan, or act. The mind's sense of simultaneity is a small rebellion against cosmic relativity, a local creation of order amid infinite perspective. But the deeper truth remains. Simultaneity is personal. Your present is yours alone. No matter how close two beings stand, no two nows perfectly overlap. This realization can feel disorienting at first, even lonely, yet it can also be profoundly freeing. It means that time is participatory. You are not merely in the universe, you help define its flow by the way you move and observe. Every heartbeat, every gaze, every journey subtly shapes the slice of space-time you inhabit. You do not travel through a pre-existing present. You create it with your awareness. Imagine then what this means for our idea of togetherness. When two people look into each other's eyes, their worlds briefly synchronize. Not perfectly, but beautifully close. Their personal slices of time overlap, long enough to share a moment that exists in both frames. And then as they move apart, their nows diverge again, each continuing on its own trajectory through space-time. It gives new meaning to the phrase being on the same wavelength. Every act of connection, a conversation, a shared laugh, a song sung together is really an act of aligning frames, of sculpting a temporary simultaneity from the infinite variability of the universe. Each shared moment is a small victory against the chaos of relativity, a fleeting bridge across subjective time. Physicists sometimes visualize this idea with space-time diagrams, lines representing motion, intersecting at points where events coincide. For most pairs of observers, their lines never truly align except in contact. Between those intersections, their notions of now drift apart. Yet those intersections, those brief crossings, are where life happens, where information is exchanged, where meaning is made, where awareness meets awareness. From this perspective, existence becomes a mosaic of intersecting nows. There is no universal present, only countless local moments touching, diverging, and weaving together the story of the cosmos. The universe is not a synchronized clockwork. It is a symphony of rhythms, each observer playing their own measure, each motion setting a different tempo, and still somehow it all fits together. That may be the quiet miracle at the heart of relativity. That even without a single shared now, reality remains coherent. The equations hold, the galaxies spin, the photons travel. Harmony persists, not because simultaneity exists, but because relativity does. The universe finds unity not in sameness, but in relationship. So perhaps we should not mourn the loss of universal time. Instead, we can celebrate the intimacy of perspective. Each of us moves through the cosmos with a unique clock, a personal tempo, a private now. And in the vastness of all these differing moments, every connection we make, every shared experience, every aligned heartbeat becomes sacred, precisely because it is brief. If there is no universal present, then maybe the present we share right now in this listening is even more precious.
It exists only here, only once, only between us, before it drifts away, becoming memory, becoming light. And somewhere perhaps another observer, far across the stars, is just now beginning to hear it.
The future does not unfold like a curtain rising at once for everyone. It drifts, uneven and personal, flowing faster for some, slower for others, like a tide that moves differently across the vast shoreline of reality. Time, we once thought, was democratic, each second the same for all who live beneath the same stars. But relativity reveals a quieter truth. The future arrives in fragments measured not by universal rhythm, but by the pulse of motion and gravity. Every being, every atom carries its own tempo. For astronauts circling Earth, the flow of seconds is not identical to ours on the ground. Their velocity stretches time just enough that they age a little less than we do, a handful of milliseconds per orbit. It's a difference so small it vanishes in daily life, yet so immense in implication that it reshapes how we understand existence itself. Those fractions of time tell us that now on Earth and now in orbit are not the same. Even the most synchronized clocks disagree about the passage of the future. It is as though the universe hums with countless overlapping rhythms, a cosmic polyphony of time. Each particle, each planet, each consciousness experiences its own beat. The faster you move, the slower your internal metronome ticks. The deeper you fall into gravity's embrace, the more languid your seconds become. Time, the most familiar thing of all, turns out to be profoundly local, a personal current flowing through each pocket of space-time. You can picture it like this. Imagine a great river splitting into many channels, each moving at a slightly different speed. The water is the same, yet its pace depends on the curve of the land beneath. So too with time, one substance, infinitely contoured by motion and mass. The cosmos does not march to a single drum. It breathes through 1,000 rhythms, each true in its own domain. Even the smallest things obey this principle. Inside particle accelerators, unstable particles born from collisions live longer when moving close to the speed of light. Their decay slows down, stretched by velocity. The faster they travel, the slower they experience time, or even as though speed grants them a brief defiance of mortality. Their future arrives gently, reluctantly, as if the universe were granting them extra moments, simply for moving so fiercely. The same is true of atomic clocks aboard satellites. To keep GPS accurate, engineers must correct for both motion and gravity. The clocks in orbit tick slightly faster because they are farther from Earth's gravitational well, yet slightly slower because of their speed. Without accounting for these distortions, our navigation systems would drift, meters off after minutes, kilometers off after a day. Every coordinate, every map, every digital journey we make is corrected by the quiet truth that the future doesn't arrive evenly. And if it doesn't arrive evenly for machines, what of us? In a subtle way, we too live out different durations. Time passes differently for the person rushing through life than for the one who lingers, though not in the relativistic sense, alone. Our experience of time's flow, the felt rhythm of living, stretches and compresses with our attention, our choices, our depth of presence. The physics of motion mirrors the psychology of being. Both reveal that time is not a uniform stage, but an interaction. Perhaps that is why we speak of making time, saving time, losing time. We instinctively sense that time is not given equally, that it bends to how we move through it. Some people seem to live decades in the space of a year, travelers, dreamers, those who fill their days with wonder. Others watch years slip past unnoticed. The relativity of physics becomes a metaphor for the relativity of experience. If we could see all of space-time at once, as physicists sometimes imagine it, we would behold a vast, four-dimensional tapestry where past, present, and future coexist. The threads of each world line weave through it at different angles, representing motion and gravity, acceleration and stillness. Some threads stretch longer, some curve steeply, some nearly fold back upon themselves near black holes where time slows almost to nothing. Each strand is valid, each rhythm real. The future, in such a vision, is not something that arrives, but something already there, waiting to be reached at a unique pace by every traveler. It's strange comfort to think that time, which so often divides us, is also what gives each life its distinct texture. Your seconds are yours, shaped by your path, your altitude, your heartbeat. You are literally aging differently from someone across the world, or even from your own past self if you climb a mountain, fall in love, or circle the planet in orbit. The future that reaches you is your own version of tomorrow, carved by the curvature of your existence. In this light, the phrase, "we share the same future," becomes both true and not. We share the direction but not the rate. We are all moving forward, but along slightly diverging trajectories through space-time. Some futures arrive faster, others slower. Yet, like notes in a chord, all blend into a single harmony, a universe endlessly recomposing itself through difference, and within that harmony lies a beautiful humility. The cosmos does not privilege any one rhythm over another. A mon racing near light speed and a human dreaming under the stars both occupy valid lanes of time. To the universe, the ticking of a particle and the ticking of a heart are part of the same unfolding melody. Einstein once wrote that for those who understand relativity, the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. But even within that illusion, we live, love, and create meaning. The unevenness of time gives texture to experience. It makes patience possible, anticipation meaningful, memory poignant. If the future arrived everywhere at once, there would be no story, no sequence, no becoming. The universe itself would be a frozen sculpture of events. Instead, it is a living composition, always playing forward, a slow dance of unequal tempos. Stars pulse, planets orbit, hearts beat, particles decay, all at their own paces, yet all within one great continuum. And so, when we look to the future, perhaps we need not ask when it will come, but how it will reach us. Slowly, gently, unevenly, in its own time, because, in truth, the future is not something that happens to us. It is something that arrives through us, according to our own rhythm in the grand symphony of existence. What if the faster you move, the slower your life becomes? As if time itself starts to hesitate, just to keep you from outrunning it. That was the question we began with, the gentle paradox that drew us into the strange, luminous heart of relativity. And now, after all the motion, all the bending and stretching of seconds, we find ourselves returning to stillness, to the quiet possibility that perhaps there was never any true motion at all. Because if everything we've learned is true, if past, present, and future are simply coordinates in a vast, four-dimensional landscape, then the river of time does not flow. It simply is. Every event that has ever happened or ever will happen exists together, side by side, like the pages of a book already written. We do not swim through time.
We read through it.
The illusion of motion belongs to us, to consciousness, not to the cosmos. In this stillness, something profound reveals itself. All of existence might be a single, unbroken whole.
Every heartbeat you've ever felt, every memory you'll ever make, every second of every life, all suspended in the eternal architecture of space-time.
What we call the present is merely the page our awareness happens to be touching, lit by the small flame of now. Imagine the universe as a grand sculpture, carved not from stone but from existence itself. Each curve represents a moment, each texture an emotion, a motion, a possibility. We move our attention across its surface, mistaking the shifting view for the passage of time. But the sculpture never changes. It is complete, silent, infinite, and utterly still. Einstein himself once said that for those who grasp relativity, the distinction between past, present, and future fades into a stubborn illusion. It's not that moments don't exist, It's that they all exist at once. Time, then, is not a river carrying us forward, but a vast landscape through which consciousness wanders, a traveler exploring what already is. And yet, knowing this doesn't make life feel static. The illusion of time is also the gift of time. Without it, we could not experience becoming. We could not fall in love, learn, grow, or remember. The still universe would contain every possibility but no story. We need the flow, the sense of before and after to experience meaning. The movement through the eternal is what creates the poetry of living. Perhaps this is what it means to be conscious, to move a small light across the surface of forever, illuminating one fragment at a time. We call that fragment now, but even in this now and this fragile sliver between memory and anticipation, we can feel something vaster pressing at the edges. When you pause, when the world grows quiet enough, you can sense it, the eternal moment beneath all motion. A sense that everything, even your breath, is part of a single continuous presence that has no beginning and no end. The monks who meditate for years in silence, the physicists who map the universe in equations, the poets who write about love and loss, all are chasing the same insight, that there is something still beneath everything that moves. The same stillness that held the first light of the cosmos still holds us now. It is not before or after. It is always. When you sit under a night sky and see starlight from 1,000,000 years ago, you are touching that eternity. Those stars are not shining in your present, yet here their light arrives, woven into your now. You are seeing the ancient and the immediate at once. You are proof that all time coexists. The past touches you through photons. The future waits in your unfolding breath. So, what does it mean to live right now if all time exists at once? Maybe it means to notice, to bring awareness into this page of the book, to feel its textures fully before turning to the next. The present moment becomes sacred not because it is fleeting, but because it is infinite in depth. Each instant, if we truly inhabit it, contains all of eternity folded within it, like a hologram of the whole universe in a single grain of sand. If you listen carefully, you can almost hear it, the pulse of being itself. It is not the tick of a clock, not the swing of a pendulum, but something deeper. The rhythm of existence, unchanged by speed or gravity or decay, the soundless heartbeat of reality. And maybe that's the secret relativity has been whispering all along. That beyond all motion there is unity, beyond all change permanence, beyond time timelessness. We are not moving through time, we are expressions of time. Each of us, a small curve in space-time's grand geometry, aware for a moment of our own unfolding. Thank you, truly, for walking this long, quiet path with me, for listening, for imagining, for letting your mind drift through the curvature of light and the softness of time. Every listener, every reflection, every breath shared in this journey adds its own small note to the great song of understanding. If you found peace or wonder here, I invite you to linger, to subscribe, to stay close as we keep exploring together under the calm glow of late-night science. These stories exist because of you, because of your curiosity, your presence, your quiet hunger to know the universe more intimately, and perhaps,
as you lie in the stillness now, you can feel it, that faint shimmer of timelessness.
the way moments begin to dissolve into one another until only awareness remains. No before, no after. Only this, because the future does not truly wait and the past does not truly vanish. They are both here, resting gently in the eternal moment that has never begun and will never end. Good night.